Well, where I am right now is in a village 250 miles southwest of Kiev, where it is calm. Although even this region has not been spared a few missile attacks, we have heard sometimes shelling in the few days that I have been here, and certainly the whole place is on a war footing. And Ukrainians are anything but calm. This country is extremely distressed and also highly motivated from everyone that I can see around here in this region, but also even in other regions, including in more pro-Russian and Russian-speaking regions, traditionally pro-Russian. I don't think they're pro-Russian anymore, because what I'm hearing is that all over the country, people are really, really galvanized to try to resist this invasion, which is happening on multiple fronts. You mentioned Kiev and Kharkiv, but those aren't the only fronts on which the Russians are advancing. There's also the southern front, the city of Kherson, according to its mayor, cited by the Associated Press. Its port, at least, which is a strategic port at the mouth of the Dnieper River going into the Black Sea, has fallen into the hands of the Russians. So there's definitely the sense that this country is still facing huge, huge pressure from this onslaught, which may be about to just step up a gear. Even if the Americans say that that column of tanks advancing towards Kiev has stalled, that doesn't mean that the bombardments of those cities, the shelling of Kiev, Kharkiv, and numerous other cities has stalled, and a lot of people are going to bed tonight feeling very, very fearful about how the night's going to go. And a lot of people are going to bed tonight underground in bomb shelters, or in the case of Kiev and Kharkiv, in the metro.
Yeah, Gulliver, we've been hearing from you and our other correspondents that the conflict is really causing a lot of trauma for many Ukrainians, especially given that most men are being ordered to stay in the country and their families, some of their families are trying to escape. What are you hearing from people there?
Well, of course, what I'm hearing from people around here in the villages around here is that all the men have signed up, and they're signing up to the army. And I've been to military recruitment centers where I've seen the crowds outside them. I've seen people arriving. I've seen men saying goodbye to their wives or girlfriends, obviously very emotional moments. There are other people who are laying low, of course. There are people I've met, who have very small children and who are hoping, although they feel that they ought to defend their country, they also need to protect their families and are hoping that they won't have to be called up right away, or that they'll be called up to serve in some place where perhaps it's further from the immediate front line. Everybody has their own life situation, but what I'm sensing is that people are really quite motivated, and also, just above all, just people are so angry because this is a completely unprovoked attack as they see it on their country. And I spoke earlier today to someone in Lysychansk, which is in the Donbass in eastern Ukraine, a region that traditionally voted for pro-Russian parties and where a lot of people actually did, initially at least, support the separatists that Russia backed, funded and directed in the Donbass region. And I was with him in Donbass only a couple of weeks ago, where he was still very critical of the Ukrainian armed forces and of Ukraine in general, and talking to me about how really there were a lot of people who had pro-Russian attitudes still around him. Today, I asked him who people blamed for this war, and he didn't hesitate for a single second before saying the Russian Federation. I think that Vladimir Putin, who up until recently could count on a pretty significant pro-Russian minority in Ukraine, has completely wiped out that part of Ukraine, anyone who had pro-Russian attitudes, because it's clear to the whole of this country to see that this is an unprovoked attack on a sovereign state.